Have you ever been interested in retail businesses? If so, I have an exciting guest for you today. Today, Alvin Narsey joins us. Alvin has had an exciting journey buying and selling multiple pharmacy businesses in Australia over the past 16 years. He is known for his ability to simplify the fundamentals in growing retail businesses. Alvin has a framework that will allow you to focus on just the cash flow and profit and letting a retail business run without you. Now that Alvin has sold all his businesses, he's now embarking on the next adventure of traveling the world and helping other retail business owners create the lifestyle they desire. Introducing retail business cash flow and profit coach, Alvin Narsey. Welcome to the Vijay Kailash Show. On today's episode, I'm excited to have Alvin Narsey with me. Alvin, welcome to the show.
Vijay, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be hanging out with you today.
You know, I'm actually really excited for this episode. You're the first person I'm bringing on that's actually going to be talking about retail. You know, business has so many different aspects, but retail is something that I've personally never dived into myself, and maybe the audience is new to it, maybe their experience, I don't know, but I would love to hear about your background and how you got into the retail space.
Absolutely. Yeah, so retail is my jam, right? So actually, believe it or not, I trained as a pharmacist after I finished high school. So I'm a pharmacist by profession, went to university, and I used to live in Australia, and hence I studied in Melbourne, Australia. And one of the, you've like everywhere else in the world, I suppose, you've got retail pharmacies, which are, the pharmacies in shopping centers and down the road in your high street mall. So I bought into my first business as a partnership when I was 27 years old. So that's how I actually got into owning retail businesses. And then from there, I basically bought, grew, sold 5 or 6 large pharmacy retail-based businesses. But I guess taking a step before that, I've always been working in retail. During high school, we had, I'm sure in the States as well, we have Target. I used to work in Target. My dad had a little coffee shop. I used to work for my dad's retail coffee shop. So I've always been in retail in one way or another. So it was a natural progression for me to get into business and run my own business and that kind of thing. And then that, I suppose, leads me to where I am today. Would you like me to go through that?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So like I mentioned, I'm not living in Australia anymore. I'm living in Germany. And so, pharmacy was a really good business during the pandemic. And I thought it was a really good time to sell my business. So I sold my last business about 18 months ago now, mid-2021.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And then so, my wife is from Germany. So we decided to move here just for an adventure and all those kind of things. But I did not know what I was going to do with the next sort of chapter, if you will, of my life. And thankfully at the time, I've always been working with business coaches, right? It's just, I've always been doing that since the beginning. And so with my last business coach, Glenn, he asked me, Alvin, what are you going to do when you get to Germany? I was like, I've got no idea, dude. No fucking idea. I don't know. And he says, you should be a business coach. And I was like, no way, I can't do what you're doing. Anyway, and then we had another conversation, a month later before I left. And he said, have you given it much thought? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And, he said, about what are you going to do in Germany? I was like, I still have no idea. And so he suggested be a coach. And I was like, Glenn, I've got no idea what I would coach about. And he gave me this really good idea. And he's a really good coach can do that. He said, if you could go back, travel back in time and see young Alvin when he was 26, 27 years old and he bought his first business, what would you tell him? And how would you help him? And so that's exactly what I'm doing now. So I'm not in the pharmacy space per se, but retail in general. And that's how I help retailers improve their cash flow and profitability.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much for going through your story. And this is exactly where I wanted to take this conversation. You said you bought your first business in your mid-20s, and that just blows my mind, especially, at such a young age. Could you talk about how you financed this business, or was it through savings, or what type of business was this that you bought?
Absolutely. Great question. And I like answering this question because it provides inspiration to younger business owners on what's possible. So my parents had no cash. I had only been in the workforce, graduated for about 3 or 4 years. So I couldn't buy my own business outright. nor did I have sufficient deposit to sort of purchase a share in a business, right? So what I had to do, I had to sort of hustle my way into an existing business in a partnership model. So basically it worked like this. One had to find people, find pharmacy business owners who were looking to expand and grow. And basically I came along and said, hey, I'm this young kid. I'm willing to work hard. I want to grow this business. In exchange for me doing all the fucking work and growing the business, can you put your name up for the loan and can you help me get a loan? So basically they helped me use the business as security to get finance. So I did have to tip in a little bit of money. By that time I was working 4 years or so. Like I said, I had a little bit of cash saved up, but it was sort of nominal. It only just covered my legal fees, if you will, right? It was just fucking nothing. But that's exactly what I did. I just hustled and I had I met so many business owners and very few of them were looking at me like, are you crazy? Like, why would I get you on board and finance you in for nothing, you know? But I knew it was a strategy. Other people had done it before. So why couldn't I do it? Literally I spent 3 years running from lawyers to accountants to really big business owners, just trying to network and trying to say, hey, my name's Alvin. I'm super keen. I want to get into business. I can do this. I can help you with all this stuff. Eventually I did. And I found two partners who had existing businesses and they exactly wanted to do that. They wanted to expand and grow. They were so kind enough to hold up their equity position for me so the bank would lend me money. The shops were as a guarantee. And then literally from there, that's when we took off.
So what type of businesses were these? You said retail, but what specifically?
Yes, so these are pharmacy-based businesses. Yes, sorry, I
Oh,
didn't
they're
make
all
that very
pharmacies
clear.
still. Okay,
They're
okay.
all pharmacies, yeah. So my thing was pharmacies. So because I was a pharmacist, I thought, well, I may as well get a retail pharmacy, right? Just the old technician thing. So yeah, so these were all pharmacy-based businesses. So my expertise is in buying and selling and growing pharmacy-based businesses, but I coach all retailers at the moment.
Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So knowing what you know now after buying that first business in your 20s, what is something you would recommend that people steer clear of when they're buying their first business? What was a big mistake you made?
Oh wow. I almost the bigger mistake I nearly made was to say yes to the first person that offered me the position, that offered me the opportunity, I beg your pardon, without fully understanding what the terms were. Because I was so excited to get into this. And he was this person that said, yeah, come help me build these businesses. I'll give you all the money. But I said yes without reading the fine print to this first person. And then lucky I was able to retract. I didn't sign anything, but then once I got all the paperwork, I was like, dude, I'm getting nothing out of this. You know, he wanted me to work 100-hour weeks and it really, and he was charging me all sorts of fees and stuff, and it wasn't a good deal. So I think, in the excitement of youth, I think it pays just to, when you get an opportunity to take a step back, have a look at it, maybe get someone from your team, like an accountant or lawyer or someone third party to really look at some contracts and that kind of thing.
Wow, I think that's a great piece of advice. I feel like I would definitely be guilty of that. You know, someone throws you think a great opportunity in front of you, but turns out just to screw you. And yeah, good job on avoiding that.
Thank you. I was
So,
just so excited at the time, right? Because I'd been hustling for 2.5 years. Finally, I met someone that was like, yes, I want to play. And yeah, they almost screwed me over, like you said.
so let's flip that. What is a piece of advice you'd give to someone getting started that you think, hey, this works so well, make sure you do this when you buy your first business?
Yes, really interesting, right? Hindsight is a beautiful thing. And after I've done this 6 times, bought and sold large businesses, now when I talk to younger people and they ask me this question, I always recommend, why don't you sit down and map out a vision for your life? And it sounds totally, totally silly, totally contrary to what they're trying to do, because they're trying to buy a business and all this kind of thing. But I think what's really important now, if I would go back and tell myself, and I tell the young people, is map out. So sit down with yourself, really try and figure out what kind of life do you want to live, what's important to you, what your values are, what it looks like for your contribution to be made to the world. And so these are some tough questions to answer when you're a little kid, right? When you're under 30, let me just say, right? So when my first business coach, when I was 27, he got me to answer all these questions, I found it very, very difficult to like, what's a vision? You know, like, what do you mean what I want to create? What do you mean what I want my lifestyle to look like? I just want to buy Porsches and Ferraris and buy big houses and, you know, have a bank account full of cash. But really, once you do that exercise, you actually move beyond that because you have this ability to articulate what life really means and what's really possible, and it's beyond the monetary stuff, right? It's more about really what's important to you. So that's what I would go back and recommend.
I think that's a great piece of advice. So let's get a little bit more personal and deeper. What did you find was most important to you, Alvin? Not the Porsches and the Lamborghinis, but what did you find was most important for you?
Yes, so I came across this thing. My first business coach, Casey, he introduced this concept of values, right? Like, what the fuck is a value when you're a kid? Like, what are your values? Like, what's important to you? So what's really important to me is freedom and adventure. And so that's my biggest value. So whenever I'm in a position where I feel constricted or whenever I feel like I can't do what I want to do, I absolutely hate that. So what's really important for me is to be able to live the life that I want, to be free, to have the ability to change countries like I can, to be able to take extended periods of time away from running day-to-day business type things and contributing back to society. So those are my biggest values, and that's what's really, really important to me now.
Got it. Okay. So you value freedom and adventure. And so when you sold your business, now you had some money, presumably, and you had all this freedom. So why did you decide to go back into being a business coach? Is it because you wanted the adventure side, or you felt something about giving back to others? Or tell me more about the transition of, okay, great, I got my monetary returns. How can I live a more full life? And yeah, tell us about that.
Sure thing. So I want to preface that with that didn't just happen last year. So that happened in the very beginning when within a year or two after getting my first business, I was 27, 28. And so always throughout my business building career, I've always had this adventure component. I've only worked 9 months a year while my businesses were running. I was always traveling, always doing these kind of things, right? So that's always been super, super important for me. So when it came to selling my last business, like I mentioned, I was talking to Glenn, my business coach at the time. And so, the ability to be a coach really ticks off a lot of boxes for me. The main thing there is the contribution or helping others, right? I think inherently as human beings, once we realize that this is really what it's all about, is providing value to others and helping other people and all going on this journey together, I think, your experience of life really transcends to the next level. So I have this unique opportunity now that I can help people. I can help, people who are in my retail space. I can help retailers, increase their cash flow and profitability. So I can resonate on that level, and it's really, really exciting for me.
That's incredible. So you come from a place of service, and because of that, you're able to live a fulfilled life while also making money. And I know in some of your works, you talk about three different areas of business, right? You have the visibility, the cash, and the profitability. I'd love to dive a little bit deeper and get some more technical knowledge from you, just for the audience who are interested into the retail space. So could we get started with the visibility side? What is visibility?
So this visibility component, it's so simple, yet it's often overlooked, right? I think one of the major mistakes that retailers and also all business owners make, it's so easy to get seduced by all the crazy marketing and all the crazy techniques out there that you can grow your business. But what was taught to me and what I found really useful when I was building, buying, and selling my businesses was really simplifying the whole process. And step one of that is having visibility of the numbers in your business. So that visibility component is really, really simple. It covers the simple stuff like understanding your cash flow, making sure that you're on top of your margins, and setting up some key performance indicators for your business. So really, three really simple concepts that fall under visibility that do just that. They just give you transparency of what's happening in your business. It's just like wearing X-ray goggles, right? You can actually see. And in a certain aspect, it's almost like looking into the future as well.
Got it. Okay. So now moving on to the cash side, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So cash is really important. Cash and cash flow is the lifeblood of the business. So cash is how much free cash, cash and cash flow is how much free cash you have left over in your business, in a certain period of time. So In retail land, we like to look at that weekly because we trade every week, on a trading week. But basically, it's looking at ways that we can optimize our cash. We can flush our bank account with cash. And typically with retailers, and this is in most other businesses as well, but we work on 3 areas of the business, right? We look at our average sale per customer or our average dollar sale, because a small uplift in that can really just flush your bank account with cash. Because if you look at strategies to increase your average sale per client, it really and usually doesn't cost much more in marketing. So, flushing your bank account with cash by increasing your average sale per client is super important. We also look at, really looking at your expenses and how to reduce your expenses. And the third component is really starting what I call getting rid of shit. This is quite a thing that happens in retail. Is we end up with excess inventory, and and it's so easy that it happens in retail because of the seasonal fluctuations. But in retail land, it's about getting rid of that excess shit that we have lying around in our shops.
Okay, so kind of going a little bit deeper into that, because again, retail, I don't have experience in it. Clearly, you were successful in it, but with Amazon and a whole bunch of other online stores coming in, how is retail surviving in this environment?
Yeah. So I would argue, okay, so in general, how is retail surviving? They're doing okay. I mean, certainly we had the coronavirus that really forced people to, there's that P word again, pivot in terms of retail offering, right? But I think with Amazon and all the other big online retailers and even the big box retailers that have come through, I think it presents a tremendous opportunity now for small to medium-sized retailers to enter the market and do really well in the market. So I say this because, the big box guys do everything, really everything, right? You can go to Amazon, you can buy basically everything. But there's such an opportunity now for somebody who is super niche, and this is with every industry, right? If you see a potential opportunity in the market, say you just want to do sunglasses, for instance, there's a tremendous opportunity for you to build a clientele and chase a particular clientele in the marketplace and in the global marketplace now. And you can do really, really well just by concentrating on this particular market, this particular target market, and solving their problems. So yeah, I think there's a piece of the pie. Actually, I know there's a piece of the pie for everybody. And there's always going to be the big players, but there's tremendous opportunity for us small to medium-sized players if we get everything right. And that's really, going back to serving a particular clientele and making sure we understand their needs and delivering solutions, for them in the form of products. So yeah, I think it's great. I'm optimistic.
No, that's great. I'm again coming from a place of ignorance just because I'm not at all exposed to this. What is stopping a sunglass retailer from just selling on eBay or Amazon or creating their own website and driving traffic that way? Because it's almost contradictory with you wanting freedom, right? Again, place of ignorance, I don't know. But if you have a physical location, can you truly get freedom if you don't have systems in place?
No, you can only have freedom if you have systems in place. So yes, you need to have systems in place so that so that the business runs without you, so that all the transactions are handled, so that you're not involved in the day-to-day running of the business. So that's true freedom, and that comes with setting up systems. So without systems, you're going to be doing all the work yourself, which is definitely not the reason why we get into business, and definitely not the reason why we want to be doing this kind of thing at all. So no, you can't do it without systems. The whole idea when people work with me and, when we hopefully go into a business or try to run a business, we've got your vision sorted out. So we know what you're trying to achieve with life. And if you don't, that's where a coach comes in and challenges you and say, hey, there's more to life than just being in your shop and earning the money and that kind of thing. Once we've got that piece figured out, then it all works backwards, because then now we have to put a team together, we have to create systems, and we generally should, as a business owner, spend more of our time working on the business, which is creating the systems, doing all the marketing and all that kind of thing. And that's what's going to lead to our freedom.
Okay, so this goes significantly more than the mom and pop shops who buy a business or they start a business and they physically work there all day, right? From like 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. And so this is not what you're talking about.
No, but these are the people that come to me because I was that guy in the first place, right? I'm come from an Indian background, and when you get into business, you work the 16-hour days, and you do that. And because there's a misconception that you have to be in the business all the time, right? And I was so lucky that I met a business coach who took me out of that mindset. So yes, in fact, I want to show these mom and pop people that you don't have to be in your business from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. If you're running your toy shop or you're running your little supermarket, you can actually move beyond that. And, I think it's really about understanding what's really important to you in your life and working backwards and setting up the systems in place. So, yes, there's every opportunity for the mom and pop small retail high street shop to get away from running their business in it all the time from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and moving on to doing other things as well, if that's what they want.
Okay, so this goes. Let's use a example. Just because I love Chinese food, this is the first retail business that comes to my mind. It's usually run by families, and it's the same people working there, so I assume they're a family. If What can they do to basically stop working in their business and get their freedom back? Because I mean, I love their food. I love the culture. It's just they're working nonstop, and what can they do to improve their lives?
Oh man, I see these people all the time, right? And it just pains me. But I've also got to be reticent to the fact there are some people who just enjoy the grind and who enjoy being there 1,700 hours a day. That's cool. But yes, if we come to your example of the Chinese takeaway that comes to me and says, "Hey, Alvin, I'm tired. I'm really burnt out, and I'm working so many hours, and we're not making enough money. Where do we start?" Right. So this is where we start. First of all, I would sit down with them and understand their vision and stuff. I think I've spoken about that. The next thing that we need to do is we really need to create like an organizational chart, a process map of what's happening in their business, who's working in each position. We need to also look at us, the business owner. What are we doing on a daily basis? So we need to do a time audit. And then we need to start systematizing these processes, right? So usually I work with the business owner and we try and create some freedom for them. Usually they are doing all sorts of mundane things in the business, doing everything really because they think they're the best person. So step one would be to outsource some of this stuff. And when I say outsource, typically in a retail business, we have other people already there in the team, right? So it's about me, the retail business owner, stopping to do this and giving it to another team member and freeing up some time. So slowly we go through that way. And eventually we're going to get to the stage in the case of the Chinese shop is we're going to have to look at, we might start with who's working on the counter taking in the orders. And, if it's one of our family members and we don't want it to be, let's look at hiring somebody in there. And then we'd look at each position all the way to the chef, to the cleaner. So when we do that, it means that the business owner, it doesn't mean he or she slacks off and does nothing. It then creates more time for them to then start growing the business. And they will have the headspace now and the time to think about what opportunities can we create, what joint venture marketing opportunities, what other marketing initiatives can we come across, how do we go about growing this business? It's really difficult to have that thinking mindset when you're stuck day to day in the Chinese shop. Did that answer your question, dude?
Oh, absolutely. No,
Okay.
I think that was perfect, Alvin. Yeah, no, it's all about freeing up the lower dollar value tasks, so then you could focus on the $1,000 hour tasks, right? And
Absolutely.
so when you start hiring people, clearly you can start cutting into
Mm.
your margins, and you may need that full amount of money to survive. What can people do in the intermediate term, like transition from, hey, I made my first hire, now I'm making less money, but I need to start growing my business? That it's a
Exactly.
very interesting transition place.
Yes, exactly. Well said. It is a transition and it's something that needs to be planned out, right? A lot of us can intuitively might know we need to grow this business and we hire people and all of a sudden we're not getting our return and then we run out of money, right? So it needs to be a strategic approach, which is why exactly what you said, we need to start with the lowest hanging fruit. So it needs to be, we need to create enough of a cash buffer in our business so that when we do make this transition over, we've got a little bit of cushioning, so to speak, in terms of operating cash flow. But also, before we hire somebody, we need to be very, very sure what their role is. So we need to have an in-depth position description. We need to know exactly their tasks. And, if they're in a sales role, we need to actually make sure that they can sell and have some predictors on what sort of income they're going to be bringing in. But certainly, once that transition phase is always the hardest phase, right? When you're bringing somebody in and, and they're chomping into your cash reserves. It's not something that you can do quickly. It needs to be done strategically.
Got it. Okay. So you start hiring people and now you have the bandwidth to start thinking about bigger ideas. So what are some possible bigger ideas you see your clients undergo to start scaling their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing is we can really start doing marketing properly, right? And marketing involves so many different aspects. And one of the great things about a retail business is getting into sort of joint venture opportunities within our community, or, working with another business to see how we can both solve our clients' problems together. So that's always one really good way that I think we can grow our business. There's also the other aspect as well, which is, having the time now to talk to suppliers to get better deals with our purchasing, because, we can buy a lot better, and that, can increase our margin and increase our profitability as well. And the third aspect is spending more time on looking within our business and creating systems for all the loose ends in our business. And, just trying to systematize the fuck out of most things in our business just so it's basically runs without us. So there's some great opportunities there.
No, that's great. And I'm thinking about how this can apply to non-retail businesses as well, just because, I mean, you're talking about systems. I think every successful business needs to have systems, right? And do you think it translates almost 100% over?
135% over, right? I'm only talking retail because that's my jam, but the fundamentals of all businesses are really the same, right? You need to work on your cash flow, you need to make sure you're profitable, you need to make sure that you keep your expenses in line. And if you want to enable growth and you want to step out of the day-to-day, you need to ensure that you have systems in place, right? Systems make it so much easier, not only for you, but also for your team to basically know what to do, right? And systems are so important when it comes to selling your business, because when it comes to sale time, when the purchaser, the prospective purchaser or the broker understands that you have systems and procedures in place, it just enhances the value of your business so much more.
Amazing. I want to transition the conversation a little bit just because having a business can take a mental toll on you if you, again, don't have the systems in place. And I know you are a proponent of meditation. Could you talk a little bit about meditation, why it's essential for business owners to start practicing?
Yes, essential indeed. Wow. Yeah, it's a strong word, and I highly, highly recommend it to all business owners. So, I mean, I can only talk about why it's no, I can talk about why it's essential for me and what I've seen in my other clients who have done it, right? So, I think step one of the meditation process is the fact that you need to take out time. You need to carve out time for yourself. And, whether you're just starting out and you're doing 5 minutes or 3 minutes and you're using an app, or like me, I do 60 minutes every morning, but you don't need to start that way, right? That simple act of carving out time is so powerful, because it really forces you to really get rid of the shit. Like, if this is something that you want to do, because meditation has so many benefits, which I'll get to in a minute, but that step one of actually creating the time is so powerful for you as an individual. And so what meditation does for me, and what I've seen it do for other people, basically just allows you to slow down and be present in the moment, which is so essential, I think, for a lot of things. I mean, there's all the physiological benefits that have been purported, but also I think it helps you be a better business person. How does it do that? Well, once you start to practice meditation consistently, and you start to do more of it, you'll find that you're just going to be that's so much calmer. You can start to think a lot quicker. You're definitely going to be not much more non-reactive. You don't lose your shit, especially when it comes to running businesses. And you're going to find, like I did, and like what I find my other clients are, they just become more efficient in running their day-to-day life. It's got so many other benefits, but those are the main ones, I think. Do you meditate?
I do, not as consistently as I'd like to, but I did get into the habit and I need to start prioritizing it again. So that's why I
Yeah.
asked. It's like, it's always good to hear. It's like, Vijay, you need to get started meditating again.
Yes. Even, yeah, I tell my clients, even if, and I think I mentioned, even if it's just for 5 minutes, right? And there's so many amazing apps that you can use at the moment just to start your journey. And then from there, you'll find, I find with a lot of people, and the same thing happened to me, it's a natural progression. Once you get into a groove, You do 2-3 minutes of a guided meditation, then all of a sudden you find that you'll move it to 7 minutes. And then, after time, you'll realize, oh, I could probably do 10. And then, 10's good. 10's probably a maximum. I feel amazing. And then you might realize that, oh, I can do 10 minutes in the evening or 5 minutes in the evening. It's a natural progression. And like anything, right? Once you get into the habit, the benefits just keep cascading.
Yeah, this actually makes me. I'm curious. Just you coming from a pharmaceutical background,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're talking about meditation. I mean, some people do supplement meditation, or instead of meditation, they use drugs. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great. Okay. I did a lot of recreational type stuff, and that's always been super important for me. Psychedelics and all the other things that fall into that umbrella. It's great, but you just need to make sure you have the right set and setting. I think that's really important. So if you're just using it just to get fucked up, well, it's not going to be so great. But if you use it as part of your process for understanding yourself, and that's why I said set and setting is so important. If you use that as part of your process for introspection and understanding, I think it's super, super powerful. And for me, it's that using, I guess, what they call recreational has always enhanced, augmented my daily meditation practice. So I think if you're looking to start to meditate, or if you're looking at a way of understanding yourself and using what you suggested, I think it's a good idea to find a guide, get the right set or setting. So I'm not opposed to it. You just need to know how to do it properly.
Got it. Would you mind going a little bit deeper into that, or is that something you prefer not
Yeah,
to talk
no.
about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what would you like? What would you like me to say? Okay, so I like what I've done and how it's helped.
Yeah, kind of like your introduction, and safety, I think, is an important concept for
Safety is
people
so
who've never
important.
done it.
Yes, absolutely. So I think safety is really important. And the best way to make sure that you are safe, I think, let me preface it. Most people do this when they're out partying, right? And that's really not a good time to be doing this, because you're in a party mode, you might be drinking, there might be other people around. So that's really not the right time to be doing this kind of thing for introspection methods. If you're doing this for introspection, it's really important that you find someone that, like a guide, like someone that's done this before, that can sit with you while you do this if you're using this for this introspective purposes. And certainly if you're doing MDMA, or if you're doing acid, LSD, or mushrooms, or if you do, and if you do end up doing ayahuasca, hopefully you're going to be working with a shaman to do that as well. So when I was doing these things on a regular basis, and certainly with ayahuasca as well, I mean, I went to the Amazon, and I had a shaman, and I hung out with the shaman for 2 weeks. And it's all of these things are in a guided setting, with a really important component of, after you do take this ethnobiotics or entheogens, that you come out of it with a pen and paper, and you write down what your discoveries are, and what you've learned about yourself, and any insights that you might have. So I think that's the main difference from doing it when you're out on a Friday night trying to get fucked up.
Yes. So with the introspection aspect of it, did you notice tangible differences between the first time you did it and the nth time you did it?
Totally. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It just depends. Each time, it's almost like, you may have heard this, it's like peeling away at the onion, right? You get slowly a little bit further understanding of yourself, of perhaps certain situations which were holding you back, which were causing you angst, or where you just didn't understand what was happening. It just helps you with a better perspective of what's going on. And for me anyway, and I think I find with most other people as well who have gone through this, who are doing this, and it just helps you understand the world a lot better. You're a lot calmer, you just appreciate, and you kind of tap into the love that's resonating everywhere.
That's incredible. And then the reason why I asked all these questions is I had a guest, many months back, who actually talked about psychedelics and how he was into meditation. And he did a silent retreat where he was in silence for 10 days. And he said he had a bigger impact using the 10 days of silence than through using ayahuasca and the M's, or I think it was in Peru where he did it. But have you done a silence retreat?
Yes. So I practice Vipassana, which was that the one your guest was practicing? Because
I
typically,
actually don't remember. Yeah.
okay. So I practice Vipassana, which is a type of meditation. I've been doing it for about 10 years. And, it's encouraged when you practice Vipassana is you do a retreat, and it's a 10-day silent retreat. So I've been doing one a year. I've done 8 now, 7 or 8. I did my last one this year in March, April. So yeah, 10 days of meditating in total silence from 4:30 in the morning to 9 p.m. at night with breaks in between. Did I have more powerful impacts compared with using psychedelics? I definitely think, for me anyway, and obviously it's such an individual experience, I find the 10-day retreats so much more challenging, like harder than, obviously taking, psychedelics and stuff. And I think for me it all augments, like, I might do mushrooms here, I might do acid here, and then I'll do this retreat once or twice a year. And I think for me it all joins together. So I wouldn't say that it's more profound for me, although I've heard people say it's more profound for them as well. It's such an individual experience. And it really depends where you're at, I think, as well, in terms of your journey in introspection and self-discovery, and how much meditation you've done and how much psychedelics you've done. So yeah, it's not a clear-cut answer.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, Alvin. Do you recommend any of this for entrepreneurs? And if so, like what are some things to watch out for before anyone gets started, if you do recommend it?
Yeah, the psychedelics?
Yeah, or the meditation or anything.
The meditation, definitely, right? I think you should give it a shot. The psychedelics, I don't think it's something that you have to do, but I think for some people you get a calling. Like, I just knew I had to try it, and I knew it was kind of calling me in a certain way. And so I don't think you should get pushed into that, but meditation, definitely, I think you should give it a go. There's the barrier to entry is so much lower, and it's worth a shot. So I wouldn't say it's essential, but damn, I know so many people who are great entrepreneurs and business owners, and even people who work regular jobs, and just most people I know that have been meditating consistently for a reasonable amount of time, at least a few years. They're just so much more loving, calmer, they're smilier, they're more present. And these are really cool people to hang out with. And yeah, I think I would highly recommend it.
Well, thank you so much. Do you have a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's looking to start their own retail business, or grow their own, or buy their own retail business?
Yeah, I think I would really harp on back to what I spoke about, which is your personal vision. Really take some time to understand, and it's really challenging in the beginning, right? Really take some time to understand what's really important to you. Like, what can this business provide for you, and what kind of life do you want to live? What's really, what your values are? How do you want to contribute to the world? And by just taking down that, doing that little exercise, it'll just make it so much easier for you when you start to run your business. Because when you start to run or get into a business, shit's going to get hard, right? And if you don't have a driving purpose behind you, you can just easily throw in the towel. And you can throw in the towel by giving up, or you can throw in the towel by starting to do everything in your business yourself, and being there 8 to 10, daily. And if you want to do that, that's great. But, there's so much more. We have this great opportunity. Businesses are this awesome opportunity for us to be able to contribute to the world and live, and use it as a vehicle to live the lifestyle that we want and that we can have. So yeah, just work out your values, do a little bit of visioning, and which is always great why you need a coach, right? Not me, but you can get any other coaches, or somebody, a mentor, or just somebody else who can walk you through or challenge you through that process. Because it can get difficult to try, and you can easily get stuck trying to figure out, well, what's my mission? What do I write? But you need someone who asks you to ask you the right questions so you can move through that journey.
Right. And I think that's a huge value add with having a coach, is because you can Google all you want, but you don't have necessarily someone giving you specific detail-oriented responses, if that makes sense, just from Google.
Exactly. Yes. And they will give you responses, and also they will ask you the right questions, because a really good coach, like Glenn, my last coach, he got me to think about, well, what would 27-year-old Alvin, want, right? So a good coach will ask you all the right questions to bring out the answers from within you. It's a real skill. And so, yeah, it's super useful.
Awesome, Alvin. And the question which I ask all of our guests is, what is your favorite book and what's it about?
Yeah. Oh my God. Favorite book of all time?
Or just, name off a few books that you think have significantly impacted your life.
Dude, so many books. Like, I read a lot of books. The last book I think that I've been talking about a lot is called Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Have you read it?
I have not.
Heard about it?
I have now. I'm going to be reading it soon.
I love it. I love it. It's one I've been recommending to my clients and just basically everybody in business and really in life, right? Quick summary, go read the book. It's such a short book, but Austin basically shows you the value proposition in how you as an individual, as a creator, and if you want to share your message and your work, he goes through this process of showing your work, how to go about sharing what you do on a daily basis within the contributions you're making to society. And he makes it really, really simple and he breaks it down. And I highly recommend that book for everybody, really. It's really good.
Awesome. And the last question I have for you, Alvin, is where can our audience get in touch with you? This has been an incredible conversation.
Yes, I've had so much fun. You can go to alvinnarseycoaching.com, which is a mouthful, or you can just throw my name into Google and all my digital assets will come up. You can get in touch with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You'll see me everywhere. Definitely let me know you heard me on VJ Show and we can continue the conversation.
That sounds great, Alvin. Thank you so much for your time.
Dude, thank you so much. I had a great time. Good fun.